Hey Spuddies, Potato McWhiskey here, and today we're going to be covering the latest information on Civilization 7. In the background is some Civilization 5 gameplay using the LecMod Community DLC. Links and information will be in the description of the video. I decided to play as China, considering there is a rumored leak from China this week. Before we get into business, I want to give you a heads up that there will be a Pax West Civilization 7 panel on August 31st at 11 AM PST that I don't think you'll want to miss. It's called History is Built in Layers, and if it's what I think it is, then I would recommend giving it a look. More information later in the video, but first let's get into the biggest pieces of news this week. Oh boy, it's Denuvo again. When will you learn, games industry? Basically, members of the community were looking over the Steam store page for Civilization 7, and it appears third-party DRM software Denuvo Anti-Tamper will be included. And a lot of people are not happy about it. I've seen many people complaining about this, saying it takes the game from being a pre-order to a pass. Now personally, because I mostly play indie games and weird niche strategy titles, I've never really had any experiences with Denuvo. A quick bit of research tells me that the complaint people have about Denuvo is that it negatively affects performance. Personally, I'll need to do more research on this topic to have a comprehensive opinion, but my first gut reaction is that this is being done to prevent piracy in the first year or so of the game's life cycle to secure launch sales. Decisions like this are likely being taken due to reports that Take-Two, the parent company of Firaxis, has reported losses in the last fiscal year, and they want to secure investor confidence with a strong start to 2025's fiscal year by making sure that piracy of Civilization 7 doesn't negatively impact sales or revenue in the run-up to the release of the next Grand Theft Auto game. I've got a few predictions on how this Denuvo edition could play out. We might see the DRM get cracked relatively quickly and then see Denuvo moved after the first major sale and DLC expansion. We might also see massive performance issues with Denuvo, leading to outrage in the community on launch or subsequent patches. We could see everything go smoothly with no issues and the game sells really well, and after about a year the game will drop Denuvo to save on money. My gut tells me that there isn't enough information to really know what will happen, but I want to hear what you guys think. Let me know down in the comments what you think of Denuvo and if you've had any experiences with it, positive or negative. Hey! Remember that time some Irish guy said Civ 7 would be the most controversial Civilization game ever made? Damn, people really should have listened to that guy. I wonder where he is now. Unfortunately, the controversies for Civilization 7 don't stop at Denuvo. Many people are complaining about the price of the game as well as some of the pre-order editions. With regards for the price, it's retailing in Europe for €69.99. Nice. €70 does feel like a steep price for a video game. That said, Civilization is a game that you tend to get good value for money in terms of hours played and enjoyment, but on the other hand, the series has a bit of a reputation of being a little bit undercooked on launch and requiring some work before it really earns back the price you pay. Now, I do think the developers are hoping to blow that perception out of the water with the launch of Civilization 7, but I'm not surprised that members of the community are a little bit skeptical about this considering their past performance. On the other hand, patient fans of the series are often rewarded with regular and deep discounts of up to 25% in the first year and potentially reaching as much as 95% several years down the line. Regardless, with a price ranging between €40 and €75 after currency conversion depending on your region, Civilization 7 is an expensive game, and that's before you consider the Deluxe, Founders or Collector's Edition that go for €100, €130 and a whopping €300 respectively. Although you can buy the Collector's Edition without the game for a mere €165 damage to your wallet. These prices, alongside the dangling of 5 days early access to people who pre-order the Deluxe Edition and above, have caused a bit of an unsettled stir in the community, with people saying that it feels predatory and it makes them uncomfortable to see the developers monetizing FOMO with such high prices. Personally, I'm probably getting the game for free, so I'm not really impacted by this, but then again, this is my job and I would buy the game anyway. It is just unfortunate that this sort of thing has kind of become industry standard. I will be putting together a video dedicated to the question of should you pre-order the game, but I'll briefly give you my thoughts. Generally speaking, you probably shouldn't pre-order any game. However, if you absolutely must have early access to Civilization 7 before launch, and you have deep pockets, my recommendation would be to purchase the Deluxe Edition because it includes most of the value of pre-ordering the Founders Edition, and I believe you can always upgrade to the Founders Edition later when it goes on sale down the line if you would like to. This is, in my opinion, the most cost-effective strategy to get that juicy early access that is being dangled in front of us, as well as the first future DLC. For the average person who doesn't absolutely need early access to the game and is a little bit more gun-shy with their money, my recommendation is to wait until launch until you see more of the game and buy the standard edition if you want to play it. Again, you should be able to upgrade your edition a few years down the line when it goes on deep sales. Patient people are rewarded financially in this regard, but I'm not going to tell you what to do with your money. If you want to pre-order the top edition to get all the exclusive content and bonus stuff, be my guest. Like I said, I'll go over the different editions, explaining them in detail in another video, so look out for that, but let's move on to our next controversy. Civilization community members have noticed that Civilization 7 is only going to support 5 players in the Antiquity and Exploration Age on launch, which is a massive change from previous Civilization games and has rightly caused some skepticism and discontent in the community, with people saying that this is a stupid and unwelcome change to the game. But I think that accurately describes the sentiment. Personally, I'm still in the let them cook mindset, and I want to get my hands on things before I pass judgment on this change. Now, initially I don't like it, and I would prefer that it were different, but I want to see why they made this change and if it truly negatively affects the gameplay. The thing I hate about this change is that it means multiplayer games with the Armchair Admirals will be much smaller, which is quite upsetting because I like playing with my friends. People have also noted that there has been no mention of hot seat multiplayer for Civilization 7, which has a few people up in arms. It's possible that this mode has been removed from the game because the observed metrics of how often it was used is low, and so the decision was made to cut this feature. It is, as of yet, unconfirmed, and I would like to hear a confirmation from Firaxis on whether or not hot seat multiplayer will be in the game, and if it isn't, and why they chose not to include it. However, I suspect the better move from a PR standpoint is to just sweep it under the rug and let launch handle it. My suspicion is, if we don't hear anything about hot seat multiplayer, it probably isn't in the game, and if we do hear something about it, it's probably in the game. Moving on to the final bit of controversy for Civilization 7 this week is that a Reddit user noticed that when a city gets conquered, the aesthetics of that city immediately change to the conqueror's aesthetics, which marks a departure from previous iterations of the series in which cities would retain the original owner's architecture until the next era. Personally, I have never even really noticed this feature, but now that it's been pointed out to me, it is a really nice little thing, and I would like to see it return in Civilization 7. In my opinion, buildings shouldn't just automatically magically convert their models upon conquest, and that's a line in the sand that I think the community should draw. Small little features like this are what set Civilization apart from other games, and it would be disappointing to see them fumble this opportunity. I feel pretty good about this being changed before or after launch. I suspect there's a lot of work being done behind the scenes to get things ready for February the 11th. Now on to some good news at last. As a breath of fresh air from all that controversy, fans who are ravenously consuming information about Civilization 7 will be happy to hear that there will be a PAX West live panel called History is Built in Layers, which will almost certainly answer a lot of questions the community has about the philosophy behind the design of Civ 7 and some of the huge sweeping changes that have been made to the gameplay. I'm excited to see this because almost all of my concerns about the game are usually assuaged. Is that how you say that word? Assuaged? Assuaged? I've only ever read that word. Anyway, my concerns about the game are usually massaged when I hear more information directly from the developers, so I'm hopeful that we'll get some answers to our questions. If you can't make the live stream at 11 AM PST on Saturday the 31st of August, keep an eye out for my reaction and summary video that will hopefully come out sometime in the next week, if indeed there is something worth reacting to in the developer panel. It's hosted by Game Over Greggy from Kinda Funny Games, who was a former IGN editor and video host, and weirdly enough, a host for WWE. Never heard of him, but I am told there are 8 billion people in the world. Ed Beach will be there, and he is the current creative director for Civilization 7, and he was the lead designer on Civ 6, as well as working on Civ 5. Dennis Shirk is executive producer on Civilization 7, and he has been working on the Civ franchise since like Civ 4 Warlords. Jason Johnson will be there, and he is working as the senior art director for Civ 7, and he's been at Firaxis for like 12 years, and Andrew Johnson is the newest hire as the senior historian for Civ 7, with a paltry 4 years at the studio in comparison to the other guys. He is also a university professor, a published cultural anthropologist, an all-around pleasant guy who I got to interview once. Every single person on this panel will have interesting things to say about the game, but the exception of Game Over Greggy, who is the host and will probably just ask the kind of questions that get us interesting information. I don't know why I feel like the need to be extremely exact in that statement. It sounds like I'm throwing shade at him, but I really am not. I literally, it's fine. Listen, it'll be interesting. Tune in. have a look, have a gander. Now, unfortunately, I did lie a little bit earlier when I said that I have covered all the controversies for Civilization 7 this week, and this one came in the form of the Nintendo Direct footage for Civ 7 on the Switch. Players have reacted to the graphical model of Queen Himiko in the video as saying she looked a little bit off, which I can't really blame them for, because she does look a little bit odd compared to the other leaders featured in the video. One thing about the leader art in this video that does excite me is that Benjamin Franklin weirdly looks better than on the PC, and I also really like that on the Switch, the leader's hair models are actually more like lumps of clay rather than the stringy hair on the PC. I really hope that sort of simplified hair models are an option, because I think that goes a long way to making the leaders feel more like Civ leaders. I think there's just something off when people go into that kind of uncanny valley spaghetti hair direction, and I would much rather see like sculpted clay hair. I think that's way more satisfying. Now, hopefully the model for Himiko does get a little bit of work before launch. Really, it just looks like a lighting and footage capture issue, and I think the background and the lighting just kind of don't mesh well with her, but I actually really like the way the footage looks, especially with the leader artwork backgrounds. I'm kind of excited to see if we might see some sort of option to have leaders appear with their cultural art behind them. And honestly, the footage on the Switch, if this was captured on the Switch, it looks really impressive for what is essentially obsolete hardware. I mean, the Switch has been out for like a decade, and it's a handheld console, so the fact that they got this game running on the Switch and looking as good as it does is downright impressive, if indeed this footage was captured in engine on the Switch. Now, more good information does actually come from this Nintendo Direct, because Himiko was an ancient leader of Japan, which has me suspecting that there will be an Antiquity era version of Japan, and in the Nintendo Direct they specifically state that you can become Meiji Japan in the modern era, which heavily suggests to me that there will be at least 2 versions of Japan, if not 3, in Civilization 7, one for each era of the game. And I think stuff like this could go a long way to calming people down about the Civilization switching mechanics. If you're simply playing 3 versions of Japan in the same game rather than culture switching all around the globe, I think people might be less up in arms about it. Time will tell if this is indeed how things pan out. However, I have a little bit more confidence that we will see 3 versions of Japan in Civilization 7 due to a leak about the game coming from China. Now, generally on my channel, I avoid covering leaks about games because I think covering leaks leads to more leaks, which could lead to worse games and also leads to a less enjoyable development environment for developers. But you'll notice I don't mention it in the title or the thumbnail of the video, and it's only briefly mentioned at the start, and it's kept at the end of the video for loyal viewers or simply people who fell asleep. The thing that I have a high confidence about from this leak is that the leaker claimed there are 3 versions of China in Civilization 7. The Han Dynasty for the Antiquity era, the Ming Dynasty for the Exploration era, and the Qing Dynasty for the Modern era. The choice of Qing Dynasty for the Modern era has apparently upset some people in China due to the association of the Qing dynasty with the exploitation and subjugation of China during what is known in China as the Century of Humiliation. The Qing dynasty government has a reputation for making a comedy of errors in the final 80 years of its reign, starting right around the period of the First Opium War. But oh gosh darn it, politics has entered my strategy game again, and I am outraged. Regardless, I have pretty high confidence that we'll see more than 1 version of China, if not 3, and that we'll likely see Confucius as a religious-focused leader for China, which the leaker has claimed. Now, the other 2 claims that people have been talking about that I'm a little bit more skeptical of are the claims about civilization-specific wonders and leader meta progression. I suspect there is some kind of misunderstanding of the game's mechanics or a mistranslation going on here, because to my understanding, there are no civilization-specific wonders. Rather, civilizations get a production bonus towards wonders that are emblematic of their civilization, such as Egypt getting a bonus towards building the pyramids. When it comes to leader meta progression, there's only the claims of this leaker and a single line in the Steam store page that could maybe point in the direction of leader meta progression. So I'm currently withholding judgment and remaining super skeptical on this point. I don't think it's a good idea to get whipped up into a fury about unconfirmed rumors about a game mechanic, but I will be keeping an eye out for further information, and if and when there is more information, I will give you my opinion on it. Right now, my opinion is, it sounds really awful to have to grind to level up your leaders to get the best bonuses from them. But on the other hand, meta progression is also really fun in games, and I love meta progression. So I think it would be nice if you had the option to like install a mod that gave you all the bonuses. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate further on it. We're just going to have to be patient and wait for more information. Now, do let me know what you thought was the most important piece of information. Did I remain neutral enough? Should I have given you stronger opinions? Should I have been less balanced? Do you wish I should have covered other things? How do you feel about the various news stories? Was there enough information? Was it too light? Was it too heavy? I want to strike a balance here of being informative, but not sensationalist. And I also want to give you guys an opportunity to give your feedback to the developers, because I know they watch my videos and I know they kind of glance through the comments. So to close out the video, I think the night is always darkest before the dawn, so keep calm and do just one more turn. I'm sure we'll have more information soon, clearing up any misconceptions and clarifying some of the community speculations. That's it for me. I love you all very, very much, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye!